Welcome back and thank you for staying with All Angles. Now, of course, rolling blackouts are not the only thing frustrating South Africans. The 2022 Household Affordability Index shows that the average cost of the household food basket is over 4,000 rand. The index has also shown that the month-on-month food basket has increased by more than 70 rand and the year-on-year basket by more than 100 rand. The average household sees no relief, which raises concerns for increased hunger and other long and short-term consequences. To speak to us more about this, we're joined by Mervyn Abrahams from the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group to give us more details. Thank you very much for your time here on All Angles. You know, reading this and then you remember that there's been some statistics that show that about 40% of South Africans go to bed hungry. It's very concerning, especially when you look at the Social Development Department unable to pay the 350 grants for 2 months.
So good afternoon, Masego, and exactly correct as you say. Already in South Africa, we have extreme high levels of household food insecurity. Each time we see the cost of the basket of food increase, it means that even more and more people are becoming food insecure, and therefore they require some level of support on the part of the state to help them just basically to survive. Because if we cannot get the 350 out to all those 40% of households that actually require food support, then what we are looking at is increased hunger. We are looking at increased social instability, or at least the risk of social instability increase. And we are also looking at increasing levels of stunting, decreased levels of education output, and increased levels of disease burden. So actually the country pays for it in other ways, and that is why we call on the Department of Social Development to please get the 350 out to all those who need it at this moment.
And Mervyn, looking at you know, the survey or the index that you have presented and conducted, etc., was there a difference in terms of food price increases in different provinces, different towns, for instance? I imagine that living in Johannesburg would be more expensive than living in Qwaqwa in the Free State.
So we track in the major metropolitan areas. Unfortunately, the only small town we track is Springbok in the Northern Cape. But when we compare, for instance, Johannesburg, Durban, then we see that, for instance, the basket in Pietermaritzburg is now at its highest in the country at 4,602. Johannesburg is a little, at least the increases is not as great, but Durban is extremely expensive. So yes, there are variances with Cape Town, for instance, coming in at the lowest percentage increase across the country.
And you would imagine that Cape Town would be more expensive. I mean, we already call it Little Europe, etc. So it's quite interesting what your findings say. But also, I think what's concerning for me, Mervyn, is that, you know, the food that has increased by 6%, etc., is basic food that each household needs. Things such as bread, cooking oil, for instance, and as well as green pepper, things that you need on a day-to-day basis without the luxury. Is what's concerning in terms of the food prices that are going up.
Yes, Masego. So we track 44 very, very basic foods that essentially most
All right, Mervyn, I'm struggling to hear you. I'm not sure if, because he's continuing to speak, so I think maybe our connection is bad, but I saw him trying to remove something from his screen, but we can't hear him, so that's not going to do you any good. But that's basically the bleak picture that Mervyn Abrahams from the Pietermaritzburg Economic Justice and Dignity Group is telling us in terms of the food prices that have gone up and how much you're expected to spend now for basic food. Now,